Smile. Definitely smile. Oh, sense of humor. Legs. The way they carry themselves. The way they walk. There are a lot of things that I could say that I find very appealing about a woman. But I think the thing that I find most appealing about a woman, and this is probably just me getting older and wiser, is sense of humor would definitely be up there, but the second one would be confidence. I find confidence extremely sexy in a woman. And as I was watching last night's episode of The Bachelor, the finale, there seemed to be a strong lack of confidence in the remaining two women. Now, a few months ago, my Facebook and Twitter blew up with posts and tweets about Juan Pablo. Everybody was so excited about Juan Pablo, how dreamy and how wonderful he was. Well, fast forward a couple of months and people are starting to see that Juan Pablo is a bit of a douche. Now, let's take you back to, I guess, not just last night's episode, but a couple of episodes before. Again, didn't really watch this season. I tend to spend Monday nights hanging out with my dad. But again, have enough female friends to kind of be in the loop of what's going on. And I saw that this girl, Andy, was telling Juan Pablo that she was leaving him. Now, she decided that she didn't want to be a part of the whole Bachelor process anymore and that she was going to leave. And then he turns and he says, okay. And she should have just kept on walking, because what she did was she stopped and she said, wait a minute, it's not okay. You don't care about how I feel. Okay. No, it's not okay. And the more that she persisted with her anger, the more he just kept saying okay. And I thought to myself, well, I haven't watched the season, so I don't know if it's a language barrier, but at the same token, just leave with dignity. You said you were going, just go. Then we come to last night's episode. We have two remaining ladies. We've got Nikki, who looks like she's in her 20s, with all the Maybelline she's wearing. She could be 13, I really don't know. And then you've got Claire, who, again, looks early 30s. And I guess Claire and this Juan Pablo guy hooked up like in the middle of the season, so they were able to kind of, go through that ordeal and go through that whole walk of shame, and she still ended up making it to the end, which after I found out that they'd hooked up so early, that kind of surprised me. So, first he meets up with Claire, and he says to Claire, he says something to her on the, they're on a helicopter, and he says something apparently very rude to her. He kind of goes back and talks about their whole night of passion and makes reference to that and says, he really likes, and she got very upset. She got very offended. So she's in her house or her apartment, wherever they're putting her up, and then he shows up. She doesn't want to kiss him. She just wants to talk to him, and then she basically lets him have it. You didn't make me feel special. That's not how you treat a woman. Then he starts talking in circles. I don't even know what the hell he was talking about. And the next thing you know, she completely forgives him. Okay. Then we fast forward to the whole final rose ceremony, and then she gets there and, she's talking about how she's so ready to be his wife, and this is what she's been waiting for, and this is the greatest moment in her life. And then he says to her, I don't want to be with you. And then at that moment, she gets defiant. She gets angry. No, don't hug me. I don't want to have anything to do with you. You're not the future father of my children. And she gets all upset. So here's my problem with that. He says something to you that you take as extremely rude, which is fine. Well, it's not fine that he said it, but it's fine that you felt that way. And you're ready to kick him to the curb. But he does what he does, and he smarms his way back in with you. And then you're like, okay, I can accept this. And only when he decides that he doesn't want you around, then you become defiant, then you become indignant, then you become this woman who's like, I want nothing to do with Juan Pablo. Okay. So my problem there is that whereas Andy a couple weeks earlier tried to kind of break up with him, he dumped you, Claire, and then and only then did you decide that you didn't want to be with him. I would have had more respect for you if you had made the decision back when he made whatever comment he made to you, and then you got to step in. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Claire is a very pretty woman. I think, if we put her in any situation, she's going to turn heads, and I hope that the future works out for her. But absolutely no confidence in this situation. And I don't understand why, because she clearly seems to have a lot going for her. But don't worry, Claire, you weren't the biggest loser of the night. Let's talk about Nikki. So again, I don't know anything about this Nikki girl. She barely looks like she's able to vote. But the next thing you know, her and Juan Pablo decide that they're gonna be a couple, and she is the final woman standing. But then they go to this after the rose ceremony, and while she's been going on and on about how much she's in love with Juan Pablo, he can't say those words to her. Now, you can make the argument that maybe that's a private thing and they don't have to be puppets of ABC, the network that carries The Bachelor, and talk about it. But I think what really struck me was the tone. Him going on about, I don't have to tell you, stop asking me, it's none of your business, we're done with this show. Direct quote, we're done. I mean, with all due respect to Juan Pablo, I don't really know or care what you were doing before, but I never heard of you. The ABC network made you and Bambi, or Barbie, or whatever the hell her name is, a star. Because of you, because of them, I get to see your faces imprinted on magazines and tabloids, and people are talking about you. Before then, whatever you were doing, parking cars at Applebee's or whatever, nobody knew or cared who Juan Pablo was. So not to, to look at it, it's like you're basically biting the hand that fed you. In a few weeks, you'll be a distant memory and no one will know or care. Now, even if you didn't want people to know, all you had to say was, hey, you know what, this is kind of private right now, but we'll keep in touch with you guys, even if you didn't mean it. But just to kind of turn around and I don't know what sort of contractual obligations they have, but just to turn around and be that angry and aggressive just kind of blew me away. But I wouldn't say that, as much as it seems like Nikki's the biggest loser, and she's pretty close because she's sitting there like a Stepford wife, and how much makeup does one woman need? Can I ask that question? I'm not trying to be mean, but oh my God, I turned on the TV and I'm looking at all this makeup that she's got on. I'm like, girl, you better pray it doesn't rain. Anyways, to me, the biggest loser are all the people that bought into Juan Pablo. Because I honestly think that the women that watched this show that were thinking that Juan Pablo was the greatest thing ever, you all got punked. Because while he might be physically appealing to you, he's the biggest douche, with absolutely no respect for women, with absolutely no regard for their feelings. And I'm thinking to myself, this is a guy that's raising a little girl? I really hope that little girl ends up going to live with mom, otherwise she's going to end up on the pole. Anyways, that's just my 2 cents. Too aggressive? Too much? I don't know. I just call it like I see it. CFL_fan on Twitter is how you can keep in touch. Facebook.com/WittyWhittier and WittyWhittier.com for my other blogs. Feel free to check me out anytime. I guarantee you, I will never punk you. Thanks so much for checking this out. Take care.